Is everyone in here?
Is there anybody missing to your left or to your right?
All right. I want everyone to close your eyes. Seriously. I want you to picture you're on the grasslands of Africa. You're on top of a jeep. To your right, you have zebras. To your left, you have giraffes. It's a nice summer day, cool breeze, 70 degrees. Got it? Got it in your heads?
Got it.
All right, you can open your eyes. All right, so I want you to keep that in mind. And then I want you to look at the second picture and realize that when you're on a game drive, I studied abroad in Africa in 2012. When you're on a game drive, you're enjoying that fresh air, that fresh breeze, and then all of a sudden you get a torrential rainfall. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, everyone's pissed, soaked, cameras are ruined, and it's just not a good situation. I've realized that's how the past 4 months have gone. It's been great, and then in the next moment, there's a torrential rainfall. And I'm like, what happened? So today, I'm going to talk about 4 things. I'm going to talk about communication. I'm going to talk about coaching or upstream impact. I'm going to talk about professional and personal development. And lastly, I'm going to talk about a proposal that I have. I already took care of one, so I have one more to do. Okay, so why does communication matter? First, it matters for reach. It matters that people that follow us trust us. And through social media, blogs, and newsletters, people are able to get on board with what we're doing. That goes right into money. We are a nonprofit. We need money, and having a reach, having people engaged in what we're doing, once the walkout comes, then guess what? We've gained this following that trusts us, that knows what we're doing, that knows our names, and then when we make that ask, people are more likely to become on board. And those 2 things both funnel towards Christ. Ultimately, God has us here in Denver for a reason, and both of these things combined together allow us to fulfill that mission effectively. Okay, so some statistics. As you can see for the total likes, our average in 2015 for CPCUL, for example, was 15. In 2016, it's 23. So Facebook likes is a big stat for gauging success, and we have almost doubled on all 3 pages. Next, newsletter update. So open rate and click rate, those are the benchmarks for the newsletter. Open rate is just just opening the email. Click rate is clicking on links when you actually open it. So the average for nonprofit is 17% open and 3% click. We are far exceeding on all 3 newsletters. Next, you can't see that, but these are blog statistics. We have almost quadrupled the amount of reach in 4 months as we did in 12 months last year. We are up 276% per post. So that means comments, likes, shares. Last year, compared to this, we are up 276% on that front. So that, for communications, that does it. And what did I learn? So what did we learn from that? For myself, I learned that I tried to do it all myself, and I did, but I was exhausted. And it was one of those moments where like the rainfall would come like a day before the newsletter was due, and I would just be like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm gonna get this thing out. And so sometimes like the actual work suffered, or I just became bitter and everyone hated to be around. And so one thing, the reason I think we're having success with our blog posts is because people are putting their hearts into their writing and they're confronting fears. I know several people have that fear of actually having their writing out in public. And putting that out there and encouraging one another has just been a beautiful thing to see. Coaching. So my goal for coaching was to shadow 9 meetings and lead 8 meetings that were shadowed. I did not make that goal. I shadowed 4 meetings and had about 3 meetings actually shadowed by another coach. So what did that look like coaching? I got 6 new leaders about 2 weeks into my major. So it was a big shift. I had leaders that had been in the program for 2 years, and then all of a sudden they get this, this guy coming in like, hey guys, like, you gonna get out of poverty? And they're like, I'm already out of poverty. What the hell are you doing? So that was like an interesting experience, and like walking alongside people that are like, I'm already doing well. And definitely going to continue to develop as a coach. Personal development. So I realized that that I had a lot of fear and insecurities when it came to being a leader. So there are often times for different meetings or when I had to speak, the rainfall would come. I'd be doing great, then all of a sudden, like I said, the torrential rainfall just like hits. And I wanted to lean into that process in this in last trimester. So I scheduled meetings with local leaders. One guy, for example, let's talk about one, Haroon Cohens. He is a pastor at church in the city. He grew up here, he's a local entrepreneur. So I met with him, we sat down for a couple hours, and it was just a beautiful time where he shared his experience with leadership. I was sort of walked into that, I was like, all right, Brian, how did you become a leader? Give me the 3 steps. And he was like, there is no defined path, but there is one if you trust in God and take the next step. So take the next step of faith. And then Jeff Johnson, he comes and speaks to us, and that same message is preached. And so I started to see that as a theme. So what are my next steps? All right, so we develop and serve. This is a development program. I am continually seeking to learn how I can actually better myself. I have 2 meetings set up. One with Pablo. Someone help me out with his last name. Olato. He's the area director for Young Life. So I'm meeting with him next week to talk about race, power, and how that affects an organization and a church. Really excited for that. Secondly, I'm meeting with Mindy Smith. She is the director of the Denver Faith and Justice Conference. So I'll be meeting with her in early June to talk about an idea or the proposal that I am going to be talking about now. So listen and respond. What does that mean? So I'm an INFJ, and I'm going to give you a brief description of that. An INFJ is an advocate. They have an inborn sense of idealism and morality that sets them apart. What sets them apart is the judging trait. They're not idle dreamers, but people that take it upon themselves to realize their goals and make a lasting positive impact. So these past 4 months, I've done a lot of listening. I've been a coach. I've been an interviewer. I've been a recruiter. For example, for coaching, there's a woman that's on my caseload that she's been in the program 2 years. She's had a really good, successful story, but she sort of hit a wall. And I sort of went in there and I was like, all right, I know what to do. She needs to get a better job. So I was like, all right, start applying. And she was like, and after I talked and listened to Elisa, listened to people that have been with her for 2 years, I realized there's a lot of fear, insecurity, stuff like that is holding her back from getting that job. There's 5 steps that she needs to take before she gets that job. So actually listening to the people around me and listening to people who have more experience than me allowed me to actually respond effectively. Because anytime I see something that's wrong, it's innate in me to want to fix it. And a lot of times I do that impulsively. I don't do it strategically, and I do it, and the effect, the long-lasting change, is not there. Okay, so I have a quote. This is where, things are going to get fun. So the quote: "The most basic of all human needs is the need to understand and to be understood." It's by author Ralph Nichols. So there's a story. There's a story of a leader. This is one of our fellow coaches. Wait, that's his 12 minutes. What is it? Okay. So there's this leader who she came and she talked about just not doing well in the program. She felt like she was sold something that she was not actually delivered upon. And as a coach, we hear that a lot. And we carry that burden of disappointment and feeling that on the ground. And I realized that this became a pattern. And as we're looking towards new land, new building, new everything, I want to say and believe that we need to focus at the same time on the present. I believe that listening, the CCDA principle, needs to be integrated into our DNA in a more prioritized way. I want you to hear my heart in this. I'm not saying that we do not listen. I know the history, I know we've done focus group feedback sessions, but I believe that we have not done it consistently or effectively. So my proposal is that we develop an ongoing listening process and system to better serve our leaders and more effectively accomplish our mission. So in Common Community Development, they're a nonprofit in Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska. They basically do the same thing we do. They have a tenet or a pivotal point in their philosophy of they're called the Listening Project. It's an ongoing process where they intentionally seek to listen to the people they serve. I called them, spoke to their director, and he put me in contact with Mindy Smith, who's a former board member. So her and I are going to be meeting to talk about what it would actually look like to implement this into an organization. And if it doesn't get implemented, then at least for me, as a personal development, I get to learn like how could you actually implement listening and make that a priority. And so lastly, I believe that this creates a win-win situation for everyone. It's a win for coaches because we are able to say, hey, we have a process that you can go into, like an interview, feedback, and leadership hears it. We care about your voice. It's a win for training camp because you get feedback on what you're actually teaching, like your curriculum. You know if what you're doing is effective. It's a win for Job Club. People get to hear is this a good thing? Or suggestions like what went well, what didn't go well. And it's a good thing for leadership because I believe it gives us an ear to the ground to know exactly how leaders are experiencing our program. And I think that this is a vital thing, and it's a win for everyone, and especially for leaders. For leaders, their voices